This is The Sports Life.
With the fourth pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Washington Mystics select Okikiola Iriafen, University of Southern California. With the 17th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Golden State Valkyries select Cheyenne Sellers, University of Maryland.
And welcome into the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, those were the two top picks in the WNBA draft that came from the Big Ten, as again the conference have multiple draftees and continue to have a presence at the next level. And during today's show, we're going to touch on all kinds of topics, one of which is a salute to Gary Barta, former athletic director at the University of Iowa, who has been inducted into the National Association of Collegiate Director of Athletics Hall of Fame.
That's going to be really cool. And also, we just heard the draft tone. Get ready for it, because next week the NFL draft takes center stage. You'll hear that jingle a lot more, and you'll hear some more Big Ten names. We're going to be previewing it with Bill Bender of the Sporting News on today's show. And also, two of the best hockey players in college hockey will return to the Big Ten. They're from the same school. Isaac Howard, the Hobey Baker Award winner, and Trey Augustine, one of the best goalies in the country and your Big Ten Goalie of the Year. They're coming back to MSU. We'll get a chance over the next couple of shows to hear why from both of them. But today, we're going to start with the Hobey Baker Award winner, Isaac Howard.
Well, as always, it is now time for our Sounds of the Week.
And let's get things going with a bit of a unique approach to our Sounds of the Week. We're going to head over to women's lacrosse. And, of course, Northwestern's become one of the dominant forces in the country when it comes to women's lacrosse. But you might remember this past football season for Northwestern, they played it on the lake, right? With the renovations to the football stadium, it was a really neat backdrop. Well, lacrosse is going to play a couple of those games. One is actually taking place against the University of Michigan. And here's Northwestern head coach Kelly Amante Hiller talking about how neat it is to have such a unique backdrop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, we've just been really excited about the growth of women's sports across the board. And, I think Big Ten has really been a true leader in that. Seeing what Iowa did with Caitlin Clark and, playing the game and blowing it out on the football field, and then Nebraska volleyball. We kind of talked about that this year, and just with the success that we've had and the notoriety that we've had, we wanted to do something big. So with what we saw this fall on the lake with football, it was just an electric environment, and people coming out, having a great time, being on the lakefront, and it's just really a special place. And so we're trying to create something great. We have an incredible rivalry with Michigan, obviously welcoming home Hall of Famer, Hannah Nielsen, one of our greatest ever. So it's just a really great setup, and, it's a great opportunity for people to come out and see a sport that is just really fast-paced, really exciting, high-scoring, and, once you see it, you really fall in love with it.
Well, Kelly's right about the view. Just make sure you don't play in February.
It's all selective when you're playing in the Big Ten, right?
Well,
let's move over to Big Ten football. And one of the new faces for Big Ten football will be Purdue head coach Barry Odom. Barry Odom actually was joined by the media to talk a little bit about how the spring is progressing for Purdue.
The progress we made from practice 1 to practice 15 was substantial, every single area of our program. And then the progress that our team made, fortunately, we were able to stay pretty healthy throughout spring practice. I thought that our kids did a great job on wanting to be coached. I thought that they were hungry to try to make a lot of progress in, our base offense, defense, and kicking game. And then, from a assistant coaching standpoint, they flooded them with information. We were very aggressive on the install. I think that, the number of rep count, that's why we changed our Saturday just a little bit. Instead of just a spring game, we had about an hour and a half long practice, which we needed. And then we had an opportunity to scrimmage some there at the very end and some situational football. So our guys got a lot better in every single situation. I thought by position group, we made progress in the way that we needed to. We've certainly got a long ways to go in what we want to do, but the progress has shown up ever since we stepped foot on campus in the way that our kids have attacked every single week.
Barry Odom, the head coach of the Boilermakers of Purdue in his first season. I mean, think about it, Dalton. Not too long ago, they were playing as a West Division champion for the Big Ten title. And last year was pretty rock bottom. So the good news for Coach Odom, there's only one way to go.
Can lift that bar.
That's right.
Well, and a team that has the bar maybe to the very tippy top would be Ohio State, your defending national champions. They had a bit of their spring showcase as they're working through some of their spring football as well. And quarterback Will Howard, who we'll be talking about later on with the NFL draft coming up around the corner, was back in Columbus and talked about the current group of Buckeye quarterbacks that are in the huddle.
I'm excited for them. They got a lot of potential, a lot of young guys with a lot of talent, and those guys are all made up of the right qualities. They got the right makeup. They want to be here, and it takes something to be an Ohio State quarterback, and it takes a special, different kind of dude. And all these guys got it.
Will Howard, a special, different kind of dude. He's right.
I was going to say, I know exactly what he means by that.
Yes. And, kudos to him after that shipwreck against Michigan to keep it all together and then march on to a national championship. That makes him a special kind of dude.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. So, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to look at the NFL draft with Bill Benner from the Sporting News right after this.
So, I got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetland. Don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you. Well, we've hit the time of the year where center stage in the wide world of sports has got to be the NFL Draft. It's coming up on Thursday, April the 24th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I've always wanted to be the guy that could go Lambeau Field, but I never got that set of pipes, so I guess I won't be able to do that. And so the Big Ten, as always, will be well representative, but how well and where would they be represented? Well, with that, we're going to bring on Bill Bender, who's called the Sporting News his writing home since 2007. And Bill, welcome again to the show. And I thought Dalton and I would just begin our conversation with you by asking how you think the Big Ten players are going to fare in this draft.
Well, I think Ohio State could set a record, potentially, with the number of players that they have drafted. Now, it might not happen in the first round, but I think they will have a significant number of players selected. You know, right off the top, I don't think Abdul Carter will get past the first hour of the draft. So, I mean, that's certainly something that also could happen. You know, so it should be a very interesting draft in that regard. But I like the Big Ten's chances to have several players taken. Mason Graham's another one that probably will be taken in the top 10.
So the one thing was interesting before we go through some of the top picks, you always take a look at the quarterback, right? Because a quarterback, that's kind of your Hollywood position. And the Big Ten has had some great quarterbacks go into the National Football League. But as you take a look at the star players from a year ago, Will Howard, obviously at Ohio State, Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, and as you look at these guys, they're looking like 4th or 5th round picks. Is that the way you kind of see it?
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes, it's going to be very similar to Michigan last year, where Michigan had several players that weren't first rounders, but they were going on day 2 and day 3. You mentioned Will Howard. I think he's going to be a day 2 pick. I don't know, a lot of people, draft experts, are tying him to the Raiders. I could see him going to the Steelers, to the Browns. I mean, there's several landing spots for him. And a lot of those defensive players like Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Denzel Burke that keyed that national championship run might not necessarily have first-round value, which is a testament to them. They didn't come back to Ohio State to improve their draft value. They came back to win a national title, and that's very rare. But we've seen it in the conference the last 2 years. It was very similar at Michigan the year before that. And you're seeing that with Penn State this year. Several Nittany Lions returned to school because they think they have their shot at a national title this year.
Well, Bill, you've brought up the name Michigan a couple of times, and it's interesting. I think you're right. I think Ohio State's going to have a lot of Buckeyes called throughout the several different rounds there are. But when it comes to the first round, do you see the Wolverines taking the most when you factor in Mason Graham, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, Kenneth Grant? Do you see maybe the Wolverines having the most first-rounders from the Big Ten?
They could. And, I think for that, because of Grant, Johnson, and Graham, I think that's very possible. I think 3 or 4 will be that. Ohio State, I'm trying to think who the first player they'll have drafted. It could wait till the back half of the first round when you're looking at a guy like Emeka Egbuka. He could be taken. I know Vinny Iyer has him selected in that round. I didn't even think about Colston Loveland, by the way. So there's a 4th guy for the Wolverines. And, depends on who has a need at tight end. But those are the kind of the leftovers from that national championship team. So after that, we'll see what Sharon Moore can do from there. But, yeah, both of those schools are going to have really good showings. And I won't be surprised. Like I said, I don't know if Ohio State will break the record, but I think they'll get close.
Bill, we've thrown around some of the names of different prospects that we're all excited about, but one who I think has become a bit of a fan favorite, and if you're just a football junkie to its core, how do you not love Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State? What do you maybe see for a future for him, not just in terms of destination, but play style? Because at Penn State, you lined him at fullback, you lined him up at tight end, you lined him up wherever you wanted on the football field.
Yeah, and they probably should have lined him up in the backfield and handed him the ball at the goal line against Ohio State. That's one they probably still want back. But, yeah, total matchup problem. Very good in the short receiving game. Tight ends, their shelf life in the NFL is so interesting because they do get hit a lot. You're never going to compare a guy like him to Rob Gronkowski, not yet. But I just think the multiple uses he has. He's so unique that he will go in the first half of the first round so a team has that ability to use him. It's almost like Taysom Hill, but 6'5", 250 pounds and something, not as fast as Taysom Hill, but you know what I mean? Like a piece you can put in your offense like that, but he's 6'5", 250 pounds and catches everything you throw at him. So I do think he's one of the truly unique players in this draft. And, you know, as a Packers fan, I'm like, if he's available, can we do that? No, you know, he'd be very good. You know, same thing in Detroit, right? Like he'd give them another option that they could use in that offense that Dan Campbell could find a use for.
Is there a diamond in the rough here? I mean, we all know the obvious guys for second-round picks. Is there a Big Ten player that's kind of laying in the weeds there that could really help somebody?
Well, I right when you started the question, I was thinking of a Notre Dame guy. So do they count? We can't count them as a Big Ten player, but I can give you a Notre Dame guy that I really like, and it's Benjamin Morrison. He missed last year. He was a corner that when he was in action, definitely was really good I saw him match up against Marvin Harrison a couple years ago and do fine one-on-one. A guy that definitely could be there. But guess who we do get to count in the Big Ten is Oregon, and I like Derek Harmon. I know you guys know about him, a defensive tackle. He can create some havoc, and an interior lineman like him could get a chance to play early. I think he'll go in the early second round.
Bill, my final question is, as we kind of evaluate trends, look, the NFL has really started to weed out and diminish the value of running backs, but this year there's a couple maybe projected for the first round. You talked about the Buckeyes. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson both are maybe second-round picks. It feels like this might be the year of the running back for the NFL draft, at least in the recent era.
For sure, and I think some of that is predicated on what we saw last year with Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs having the years that they had as free agents. Now, from the draft standpoint, it starts at the top with Ashton Genty. I mean, he's amazing. You guys saw him against Penn State, and, you know, despite the loaded fronts, he was still able to have success. You mentioned Henderson and Judkins. When Will asked me about a day two sleeper, Travion comes to mind as well, because when he's healthy, he's very dynamic, and he'll fit an NFL scheme, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Remember the screen against Texas. So it is a little bit of a running back not a revolution, maybe a reemergence. And I think that's good. It shows the value that position has, especially in this game. And you could take it all the way down to a guy like Arizona State's Cam Skattebo. There are going to be a lot of running backs taken in this draft.
Bill, I want to go back to the quarterback thing with Will Howard, Ohio State, Dylan Gabriel, Oregon, and Curtis Rourke at Indiana. Of these three, the top three quarterbacks in the league last season, did these three guys have a game that you believe will transfer into the NFL successfully?
I think Howard, how do I answer this? You know, he's a guy that he did when they said he was transferring to Ohio State, when he talked about that, he said, okay, I wanted to improve my draft value, and Ohio State was the place to do it. When you're throwing to, you know, Jeremiah Smith and Emeka and Carnell, I mean, how many receivers do I need to list from Ohio State that he threw to? They were all good, right?
Yep.
I like his makeup. I like his intangibles. And quite frankly, I like how he handled the aftermath of losing to Michigan. When they lose to Michigan, he could have gone down as a bust. I've lived in Ohio my whole life, and I tell people this all the time. The four quarterbacks since 1968 that have won national titles at Ohio State, their names are Rex Kern, Craig Krenzel, Cardale Jones, and Will Howard. And none of the previous three really had long, lengthy NFL careers. I think Will Howard has a chance to have a lengthy NFL career. I don't know that he'll start right away, but with that size, the ability to run, and his locker room presence, I could see him having a nice NFL career. Am I off base in saying that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And one final thought about this season. The Big Ten has a national championship in its pocket with Ohio State. Do you think the Big Ten now has reemerged as the best conference in the country, and will that reflect in the draft coming up?
I think it'll be a big storyline. You know, they're challenging the SEC now. In this NIL era, they've been able to win back-to-back national titles, and they had the spotlight of having Penn State in the semifinals. They had the USC and Oregon help the league and add depth. I mean, Oregon especially by winning the conference in year one. So I think the Big Ten has nowhere to go, but they'll compete for national titles in this format too. Ohio State will always compete. And I've always thought, I think the best thing to happen to the Big Ten over the next 5 to 10 years would be somebody other than Ohio State or Michigan winning the national title, because it'll show that, this conference doesn't just revolve around those two from a football standpoint, that, a Penn State could break through. It was good when Michigan State had the success that they had early in the playoff era, because I think it just shows depth. How many SEC schools have won a national title this century? At least a half a dozen, right?
Well,
close. I'm trying to do it in my head. Alabama, Auburn, Florida,
LSU,
Georgia, and LSU, and then Tennessee in '98. So there's 6 since 1998. I think that's why they have that claim, is that they have the most programs capable of winning a national championship, and the Big Ten is closing in on that.
Well, Bill,
nice assist. Thanks for the assist, Dalton. I'm sorry.
Hey, I set him up. You knock him down.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, now we all know the number 6. There we go. We got that in our heads. Well, Bill Bennett from the Sporting News, as always, we appreciate it, and I hope you have a good summer.
Hey, thanks so much. Let's check in again soon. I appreciate it.
And as always, a great chat with Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Well, up next on The Sports Life, we're going to visit with the number 1 player in college hockey, the fellow who won the Hobey Baker Award this year. It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender.
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
And welcome back from Willis Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, in the wide world of college hockey, the hottest team in the Big Ten for sure the last couple of years has been Michigan State. The Spartans have won back-to-back regular season titles and back-to-back tournament titles and back-to-back appearances in the NCAA tournament. Well, when you're that good, you obviously have some pretty good players. And one of those players is Isaac Howard. For the season, Ike was number 1 in the nation in points per game. He was 3rd in the nation in goals per game. He was the Big Ten Player of the Year and the Big Ten scoring champion. Well, with that resume, is it a surprise that Isaac Howard became the Hobey Baker Award winner for this season, making him the best player in all of college hockey? So, Ike, thanks for joining us, and I really thought maybe we could start off our chat here with not so much what happened this last season, but the last 2 seasons. Because the last 2 seasons, as we've already mentioned, have been championship years, but prior to that, things were not quite so good. So, I guess our first question is, what do you think turned this whole thing around?
Yeah, I mean, Nightingale coming in, he was the turning point. He came in with a different approach, different mentality. He brought Will Morlock from USA into here, and those two were kind of the foundation. And Knights brought in a great staff of coaches and resources, and then he set that mentality in the players, and what it's going to be like playing here. And I think the first year was a big time step. I think from the second year and even to the third year, it's been big time steps. I think this program keeps growing. Now I think where we're at right now, we're in a position to be, contending for the national championship every year, and that's exactly what you want.
Isaac, you brought up there the job that Adam Nightingale has done so quickly in East Lansing, and it's a lot of the talk, right, among media members, fans, players, whoever, that Adam Nightingale's done such a great job. I want to go back to how your relationship with him started. How did you first meet Adam Nightingale? Was it at the National Development Team? And how has it grown over the years?
Yeah, he was my coach for the NTDP for 2 years. That's why I got in there, met him, got a good glimpse of how he does things, how he runs his practices, his systems, things like that, and absolutely loved playing for him there. And then when I had the opportunity to get into the portal, I saw kind of what he's been doing here already, and obviously I knew him as a person, and off the ice he's such a great guy, and someone I can always talk to, and I knew this would be a great fit for me. So our relationships, I think, just gotten closer, and he's one of my favorite coaches of all time, and also away from the rink, he's just such a great guy.
Well, this is a 2-part question here for you, Ike. Number 1, how did you feel when you realized you were a finalist for the Hobey Baker Award? And then what did you feel like when they called your name?
Yeah, I mean, I found out, I think just like a couple hours before the Hobey hat trick, that I'd be a finalist, and I was definitely excited. Cool moment and cool recognition. And then when I was there, it was a fun day, and a lot of anticipation and build up, but I was pretty collected and calm, and I knew it could go to anyone. And when my name got announced, I was pretty excited. It was a surreal moment, and super special.
Does the magnitude fully hit you, Ike, when we talk about Michigan State hockey and all the history that this place has, national championships, the players that went on to the pros? You're the 3rd Spartan ever to win this award. You joined Kip Miller in 1990, you joined Ryan Miller in 2001, and then it's Isaac Howard. Does that sink in for you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super special, and it's such great company. Like, those guys are unreal, had amazing careers here, and are such proud Spartan alums. And I think it just shows how close our culture is here. And after Ryan Miller called me and stuff, and that's super cool. And obviously it's probably never going to sink in, to be honest, but it's it's cool to be up there with those names.
Dalton, I'm shocked you missed this one.
Mm-hmm.
Ike Dalton is our numbers guy. He always has this in his head. You missed the fact that with Ike winning the Hobey, he's the first guy at MSU without the name Miller to win this thing.
That's right. Are you adopted
That's
to the Miller
true.
family?
Maybe I'll change my last name or something.
There you go. Well, we can talk about the fact you're the Big Ten's Player of the Year. We can talk about you're the scoring champion, both in the Big Ten, and you rank number one nationally in points per game. So what skill does it take to be such a proficient scorer, and what is the best way to describe your game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just trying to be a consistent scorer, showing up every night with the same mentality and, wanting to impact the game. I think stats can kind of take care of themselves, but it's more about just, impacting, creating opportunities for my teammates, getting open for myself. And, I think I just kind of play it. And a smart offensive game, I think, my kind of hockey IQ is what helps me get into scoring areas and set up plays for my teammates. So that's what I rely on.
Do you feel like that's a team broad answer? I mean, everybody across this team, that's what's led to the success is we play a high IQ, we find the shots, and we just try to execute and capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how we do things here. We got a lot of talented guys, but, it stems from also just working hard and playing to our strengths. And, I mean, I think that's definitely led to some success.
Do you look out ever on the ice when you're wearing the green and white and you look over back behind you and there's Trey Augustine in the pipes? You got a couple of All-Americans here. You got some stars. Do you ever think, oh my, we've really got a squad? Like I would not want to be an opponent of the group that you are.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love our team, and even for next year, I think we're going to be even better than we've been the last couple of years, and it's just so exciting. So many good players. The depth we have is special. I think we got everyone who's in the lineup, and even guys that aren't in lineup pushing to get spots, and I think it's a cool atmosphere for sure. And then just trusting our group and having Trey in the back end is definitely super helpful.
Well, like one of the things about you guys this year, you had a little theater and you were a little drama, some great last-second wins, especially up at Wrigley Field. And after the Wrigley game, Coach Nightingale was asked about your ability as a team to win these last-second games, and he said you guys had a low panic threshold. I have never heard that line before. Can you go deeper into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of just stemming from, not panicking when we're down or when it's tied and it's a close game. I think that starts in practice. We play so many small area games, next goal wins, and it's just not about panicking. It's about sticking with what we need to do to win, and I think that even helped us in a lot of comebacks. We weren't cheating for offense or trying to change anything. We were trusting how we play, what we do that makes us successful, and sticking with it at the end of the day and not trying to change things up.
Will brings up a great point that you're a part of some really neat contests throughout this season. Wrigley Field, of course, the Dual and D, some of the big games that this team's been able to be a part of. And if I go to ask Ike Howard, who we talked about as a Big Ten scoring champ, and he's first in the country in points per game, he had 26 goals in 37 games this year. Is there a favorite for the Hobey Baker Award winner that you had this past season?
My favorite goal was definitely the double overtime win against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. That was probably my favorite game too. Just so fun to play at Munn, and when that arena's bumping, they're bumping all season long, and they even bring it up another notch for the playoffs. It's so fun. When that went in, I thought the roof was going to come off the building, and I think that's the special part about getting home ice advantage in the playoffs, and definitely utilizing it.
When did you decide you wanted to be a hockey player?
Right away. I think I was 2 years old, running around the house in skates, and just absolutely fell in love with the game. Older brothers played, my dad played, so right from a young age, I was primed to play hockey, and I loved watching the NHL when I was younger, and like I said, just pretty much right away.
Well, we talk about your great skill on the ice. Many people may not know you're also a movie star. Can you talk a little bit about the filming of you guys as part of the film to come out, Playing with Fire?
Yeah, it was about Theo Fleury's kind of his whole entire path, on the ice, and then also his story with what he struggled with off the ice, and they needed some extras to play this specific scene where he scores an OT and then does his famous celly down the ice, and they're able to shoot it right here at Mon, and me and the boys had fun with it. I was playing Messier, and it was pretty fun. We got the old school gear, the buckets, the sticks, and we got an appreciation for how these guys shot the puck with these wooden sticks back in the day. But it was fun, and it'll be fun to see that come out.
So anyway, here's the big one. You ready? There's no doubt if you wanted to, you could be playing in the NHL coming up next season. But you elected to come back. Why?
I mean, kind of unfinished business here, right? Like, have that opportunity to win a national championship. Didn't feel like I was in a rush or needed to force anything. This is a special place coming back to. It's not taking a step back. It's being here, being grounded, just trying to get better and utilizing the resources here.
Well, Ike, I want to ask you then, too, because, this is a team and a program, again, that's back-to-back Big Ten champions. And you think about this season, you get to the NCAA tournament, you play in Toledo, and that final horn sounds, and you drop an opening round to Cornell. The thoughts and conversations that followed that fueled you to make this decision to come back, what was it like from the final horn to when you said, you know what, I'm coming back to East Lansing?
Yeah, it's obviously it's a terrible way to end the season, right? I think we did so many good things, and then even in that game, I thought we did so many good things as well. But that's the reality of the tournament: is you can outplay a team, but they bury their chances and they hang around long enough. Anyone can win. So we saw that. Obviously I was pretty crushed, and just try to bottle up that emotion and be ready for next year. Having the opportunity to run it back is super special and, something I won't take for granted.
So as you reflect back on this season, Ike, what do you think you'll remember the most?
I think just the little things, hanging around the guys, winning the Big Ten, regular season, playoffs, doing the D, GLI, like all those moments will be so fun. And then even like sharing, going to the basketball game, taking pictures with them when they won. Just little moments like that, and just being proud to be a Spartan and having a fun time.
Well, Ike Howard, congratulations. You're the Hobey Baker Award winner, and there's only one of those, and that is really something this year. And I wish you the best for next season. Hope everything you want to happen happens.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
A fun chat with Isaac Howard, this year's Hobey Baker Award winner. Up next on the Sports Life, a salute to Hall of Fame Athletic Director Gary Barta.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, our cover story this week is about an individual that over a window of 17 years was a guiding light in the continual effort to keep the University of Iowa Athletic Department on an upward trajectory, all the while successfully working through some difficult social and cultural campus issues. Gary Barta became Iowa's 11th Director of Athletics on August the 1st, 2006, a run that would continue until his retirement on August 1st, 2023. So for Gary Barta, who would go on to become an individual of influence in the world of college athletics, did he have any idea what sort of career path he would be on after he graduated from North Dakota State University?
Well, at that time, my idea was to become the next Brent Musburger. For your listeners who know who that is, hopefully a few of them still do, but I earned a degree in broadcast journalism, so I was going to head down your path, Will, and I actually did it. I was the color analyst for WDAY radio and did some TV, so I thought that's where I was headed. I definitely knew I wanted to do something in sports, but I also had to pay the bills, so I was working full-time for Ford Motor Company, and I was sidelighting as an analyst on radio and TV.
What changed that direction was a phone call he received out of the blue from a vice president at North Dakota State University, which went like this.
Gary, he said, I sat next to you in an airplane a few years back, and we were flying out to California. We played the game, flew back. He said, do you remember our conversations? And I said, I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, I don't. He said, well, I was so impressed. He said, we have this job opening. It was fundraising for North Dakota State University. He said, I think you'd be good at it. I said, well, that's exciting. I have no idea what that means or how it works. And he said, we can teach you. And that's how it all started. I owe a lot to Jim Miller, the guy who singled me out and said, we think you can do this. And that was about 38 years ago.
So for Gary Barta, what attracted him to Iowa?
Wow, I don't even know where to begin. I had been 7 years at the University of Northern Iowa, so I was familiar with the state. I met my wife, who grew up in Waterloo, Iowa. I met her while I was at UNI. We then went to Seattle, University of Washington, and then Wyoming. And so the opportunity fulfilled just about anything, any box you can check. I would have the opportunity to work for one of the great universities in the country in the Big Ten Conference. And by the way, be an hour away from where my wife grew up, so the grandkids could see Grandma and Grandpa, and only about 4 hours away from my hometown of Minneapolis. So it was a combination of my career continuing to rise, having the opportunity to work at an incredible university in the best conference in the country. I know there were others who might want to debate that, but in my opinion, the best conference in America, and just a pinnacle career move. And thankfully, a long opportunity is 17 years.
During his watch as Iowa's director of athletics, over $380 million was raised to upgrade Hawkeye facilities, which in short was a monumental accomplishment.
I think I'm most proud of just the continued growth in competitiveness, our academic success. We had a tagline, a slogan we came up with many years ago: win, graduate, and do it right. And I'm thrilled as I look back. The success of our teams collectively is amazing. Our competitiveness in a really difficult conference against much bigger schools, really proud at how our teams competed. If you look at, there are very few schools whose team wins a bowl game and goes to the NCAA men's basketball, NCAA women's basketball, one of the top wrestling programs, and our attendance in all of those sports is near the top in the country. So all of those things I'm proud of, but I'm also proud of the fact that our average GPA is over a 3.0 of our student athletes. Our graduation success rate is around 90%. So it's that full package. It's win, graduate, and do it right. So I left, the timing was right for me to step away. It just felt like the right time. And I left with things in a really strong position. So I feel great about all of that.
One of the nice perks for Barta, a former college football player, was that he was selected to serve on the College Football Selection Committee for 4 years, while serving as the chair for 2 of those years.
Well, it consumes an incredible amount of your day-to-day during that period. So I have an awesome staff. There's no way I could have taken on that task. I went to my president first. I went to my staff second and said, look, I'm going to be gone 3 or 4 days out of every week. I'm going to be watching film. And fortunately, the president was on board. My staff was on board. So it takes a lot of time. That's the long answer to that question. You watch, hundreds and hundreds of games. Then you get together for the last 6 weeks of the year with 12 other people. And it's an incredible process. It's subjective and objective at the same time. But at the end of the day, those 13 people have that responsibility. Take it seriously. And I would say the time that I spent, I felt confident when we finished every year. I felt like we came up with the right group. And it pretty much proved itself, in the final as the games were played. The year that was the most challenging was the COVID year, because, we were trying to travel to Dallas when no one else was traveling. You had some teams played 13 games, some teams played 7 games, and there wasn't as much cross-sectional, mostly conference play. That was the most challenging, but also incredibly rewarding. Again, I'm biased, but I felt like we got it right. But overall, the experience, the experts in the room, just unbelievable fulfillment in that process.
He also believes expansion of the college football playoffs is a plus.
I think so. I think it's inevitable. There's things that I love about 4. If you're selecting 4, there are only about 7 or 8 in the country who really think they should be in that 4. As we go to 12, that will put extra pressure on the system and on the selection committee, because now there will be 20 or 25 schools that think they should be in that top 12. So it'll expand. So more pressure on maybe the process, but at the same time, I think it's going to create a lot of electric opportunities. The second half of the season will become even more exciting. Playing home games for the first part of the playoff, I think will add a whole new wrinkle. Instead of having 3 games as a part of the CFP, now you're going to have 11 games spread out a little bit more. So I think the country will enjoy that. One of the downsides is, one of the things I love about the 4 is every week is a playoff game. Every time that the teams line up, that's a playoff game, because there's never been a 2-loss team that's made it into the Final 4. And so that part we'll probably miss. So I think overall, I think it was inevitable. Overall, I think it's going to be exciting. The game of college football is at an all-time high, and I think it will add a lot of excitement. There will be some bumps along the way. How do we fit those games in? How do we position them against the NFL? Because there will be a little bit more overlap. how do we make sure student athletes don't have too much? They need that health break, and so it's getting the buys in. But overall, very excited, and I think America will be excited about it.
And finally, there is his reflection on the journey.
I have had time, and journey is the perfect description. Will, I try to. I have strong faith, and one of the things my mentors over the years have continued to remind me is to enjoy the journey. Today is here. Today I have full opportunity to take advantage of it, deal with it, enjoy it. And so I've always looked at it that way. I never had, people would ask me, what do you want your legacy to be? And I don't have an answer for that because I don't really focus on a legacy. I focus on enjoying every day, taking the challenges that come with it, taking the joy that comes with it, dealing with that one, going to bed that night and waking up and enjoying the next day's journey. I am one of the most blessed human beings on this earth. I worked for, I was a student athlete, and then I stumbled into the opportunity to work in college athletics, and somehow I found a way to keep growing my career and stay involved for 37 years. I worked at 5 places. I loved every one of them. I have a beautiful wife, a wonderful wife of 30 years. I have 2 incredible kids who were born in Seattle, lived in Wyoming, and now for the most part, remember their 17 years at Iowa. So the journey has been amazing. The people are the key to the journey, but my journey's not over yet. So my journey's taking, a friend of mine called it Gary 2.0. So I'm going to take Gary 2.0 and see where it leads me. But to your point, it's a journey, and every day is a blessing. And so every day I'll wake up and I'll see where the journey takes me next.
Some of the thoughts of Gary Barta as he reflects on the past, present, and the future. Back with our parting shots in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt, that's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. That's 800-298-9093.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope. Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player.
No matter the challenges I face every day in the NFL, my mom is always there for me, despite her own struggles with muscular dystrophy. And MDA is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today. Thank you.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, a good show we've had for you this week. We've talked some NFL draft. And we don't talk a lot of hockey on this show, but can you do better than having Isaac Howard on, the fellow who won the Hobey Baker Award as being the best player in all the land? And a salute to Gary Barta. That was pretty nice to bring that little piece back, Dalton, I thought, as Gary, former AD at Iowa, gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. So with that, it is now time for our parting shots.
Yeah, and by the way, if you missed any of that, make sure you give us a follow at Sports Life Now on Twitter or X is where you can find us. That's again at Sports Life Now. For my parting shot, this is actually fairly fresh news here late in the week that icon of the college football world, Lee Corso, has decided to retire. He will have one final show. It'll be the beginning of this upcoming season on August 30th, where they'll have a bit of a farewell for Lee Corso, who's celebrating 38 years of working College Game Day. Of course, was a head coach at Indiana here in the Big Ten, but I don't know if everybody has felt quite the same way as maybe I do or maybe you do, Will, but College Game Day became a staple and an intricate part of your Saturday festivals of college football, and he was a big reason why. I didn't really care if he picked School X or School Y when he picked up the headgear to make his selection, but it was about his energy. It was about his charisma. He had a genuine passion for college football, a genuine enthusiasm for fans, and he cared about people. And I think that's a really neat way to celebrate the 38 years of Lee Corso with one final College Game Day.
I would agree, Dalton. And the other thing, when he was the head coach at Indiana, I was just beginning my little broadcast journey at that point, and I had a chance to see him in action. And what gets lost in translation, as you mentioned, he was a showman. There's no question about that, and a good showman. But underneath all of that was a pretty good football coach. Yep. The guy knew football, and he got a lot done in Indiana with not a whole lot to work with, right? Some things never change, do they? That's right. Okay. And, Dawn, for my parting shot, I'm going to keep it in the Big Ten family and talk about the Sullivan Award. It's given annually, and it goes to the most outstanding collegiate athlete, Olympic or similar level sport. The winner this year is Lexi Rodriguez. She plays volleyball for Nebraska. And one of the cool things about this award that she received, it wasn't necessarily that she was a great volleyball player, which she was, by the way, but they also figure in what you do in the community, your character, your sportsmanship, and your leadership. So this is one of the great awards we give out every year, and congratulations to Lexi Rodriguez in Nebraska for being this year's recipient. And with that, that wraps up our show for this week. And as always, we should note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. And by the way, the Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler and assisted by Owen Cronin. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.